It was a cold, silent night on Earth. The stars were shining, the wind was calm, and most people were asleep. But high above the clouds, far beyond the reach of any airplane, something moved in the darkness. An alien ship, black like a shadow, silent like death, entered Earth's orbit. It did not shine. It did not make a sound. The humans below never saw it coming. Inside the ship stood Caratel, an alien scout from a faraway world. Its large silver eyes looked down at the blue planet. It had studied many worlds, but this one was different. Earth was alive. It was loud. It was unpredictable. Caratel had only one mission: observe the humans. Its people believed humans were weak. They were emotional, soft, and small compared to other species. On Caratel's world, emotion was weakness. Mercy was weakness. So the leaders believed conquering Earth would be easy, but Caratel did not trust easy victories. It had seen weak planets fall, and strong planets rise from the ashes. It decided to learn more, to watch the humans closely before the invasion began. The ship moved like a ghost, passing over cities, forests, and oceans. Caratel's eyes focused on one city, millions of humans living together, rushing like a river of light. They worked, they laughed, they shouted, they helped, they fought. They looked strange. Not like soldiers. Not like warriors. They looked ordinary. Caratel spoke in its mind, sending a soft signal to the fleet. No threat detected. Humans are chaotic but simple. But then something caught its eye. A small child fell on the street. Another child stopped, helped him stand, and smiled. The mother of the fallen child cried, but still hugged him and walked on. A man gave his jacket to a stranger. People argued, then helped each other again. Every time they fell, they stood up. Caratel frowned. On its planet, falling meant failure. On Earth, falling only made humans stronger. Strange, Caratel whispered. The alien wanted to understand more. It pressed a small button on its wrist. The black ship slowly turned invisible and started to descend. Clouds wrapped around it as it passed through the night sky. It landed far away on the edge of the city, near broken buildings and quiet streets. The place was once full of life, but now carried scars of a disaster. Caratel stepped out. The air was cold. It smelled like metal and smoke. Its long fingers touched the ground, a soft, warm, alive. Caratel moved through the shadows like a hunter, but it was not hunting. It was watching. In the middle of the broken street, a group of humans gathered around a fire. Their clothes were dirty. Their faces were tired, but their eyes were bright. They were talking, sharing food, laughing. Even after losing everything, they still had hope. Caratel did not understand. Why do they smile after pain? Why do they help each other even when they have nothing? A soft alarm rang in Caratel's head. It was time to return to the ship. But its legs did not move. For the first time in its life, Caratel felt something it could not name. Curiosity. It stayed longer, hiding behind a broken wall, watching the humans. One man gave the last piece of bread to a stranger. A woman wrapped a crying child in her coat, even though she was shaking from the cold. A boy laughed as if he forgot the pain around him. They are not logical, Caratel thought. They are different. Far above, the alien fleet waited. Caratel sent a small report. Humans are emotional, unorganized, weak. But deep inside, Caratel was no longer sure of its own words. It looked up at the stars, at the fleet, hiding beyond sight. It imagined what would happen when the invasion began. Would these humans fall, or would they stand again? The fire in the street grew brighter. Caratel stepped back into the darkness. It thought no one saw it. But one pair of human eyes was watching. A little girl, maybe 7 years old, stared directly at the alien. Her eyes were not full of fear. They were calm. She lifted her small hand and waved. Caratel froze. No one had ever looked at it like that before. The girl whispered something soft. Caratel could not understand the language, but it understood one thing. She saw it. The alien stepped back, heart beating fast for the first time. Something about this world was wrong. Something about these humans was dangerous in a way Caratel could not explain. It disappeared into the night, but the girl kept looking at the shadows. High above, the stars were quiet, but the wind carried a silent warning. They are not weak, Caratel whispered to itself. They are something else. And with that thought, the alien ship rose slowly into the dark sky. The first contact had begun, but the real story was just starting. The next night was colder. The sky was dark and the wind whispered through the empty streets. Caratel returned. It had watched many worlds, but this one kept calling it back. The alien ship became invisible again and landed on the edge of the same city. No one saw it. No one except the little girl who had seen it before. Caratel stepped out silently. The broken buildings looked like ghosts in the night. The city had faced a disaster not long ago. But the humans had not left. They had stayed, and together. The alien walked slowly between ruined walls and empty cars. It listened carefully. Laughter, voices, a fire crackling somewhere in the distance. Caratel followed the sound. Soon it found a small group of people sitting near the remains of an old building. Their clothes were worn, their faces tired. But their eyes burned with something powerful. Hope an old man was giving bread to 2 children. His hands were shaking. He was weak. But he still smiled as he placed the food in their hands. A woman wrapped a blanket around another stranger. A boy gave his only bottle of water to someone else. They shared everything they had, even when it was not enough. Caratel felt a strange feeling again. On its planet, if someone was weak, they were left behind. But here, weakness made people come closer. "Why?" Caratel whispered. "Why do they do this?" The alien stepped closer, but stayed in the shadows. Its silver eyes watched every movement. The humans were tired, hungry, cold. And still, they laughed. They were not soldiers. They were not fighters. But there was something unbreakable inside them. Caratel touched the wall next to it. The stone was cracked from the disaster, but the firelight made it warm. It felt alive just like the humans. Far above, the alien fleet waited for Caratel's report. A voice in its mind spoke coldly. "Are they strong?" "No," Caratel answered softly. "They are just strange." But it did not tell the fleet everything. It did not tell them about the hope it saw. Then something unexpected happened. One of the human, a tall young woman with short hair and sharp eyes, suddenly turned her head. She looked directly at the shadow where Caratel was hiding. Her name was Lena. She was a scientist. She was not supposed to see the alien, but she did. Caratel froze. Her eyes were clear, calm, and focused. There was no fear in them. She whispered something to the others. They didn't see anything. Only she did. Lena stood up slowly and walked toward the dark corner. Her steps were quiet but sure. Caratel stepped back. No human had ever come this close to it before. The distance between them grew smaller. 10 meters, 5 meters, 3 meters. The alien could hear her breathing. The firelight touched her face. She stopped. She raised her hand. And then she smiled. "I see you," she said softly. Caratel's heart beat faster. It had fought on many planets. It had seen soldiers, monsters, and machines, but no one had ever said those words to it like that. Not with fear, not with anger, but with calm strength. Caratel could have vanished. It could have returned to its ship, but something in her eyes held it still. The woman turned around and walked back to her group. She did not scream. She did not attack. She simply said one thing to the others: "We are not alone." The humans around the fire grew silent. They looked around nervously, but Lena stayed calm. She looked at the dark sky, as if she knew more than the others. Caratel stepped back into the night, confused. It came here to study weakness. But it found something else: power. Not power from guns or armies. Power from unity. Power from hope. The alien walked through the cold streets, trying to understand. Why did this human not fear it? Why did she smile? What kind of creatures were these? The wind grew stronger. Somewhere in the distance, the city lights flickered like stars on the ground. Caratel looked at them and felt a strange feeling inside its chest. Something it had never felt before: respect. It sent a small message to the fleet again. They are weak. But its hands were shaking when it pressed the button. It knew the truth was not that simple. Far away, Lena stood on the broken wall looking at the night sky. She whispered to herself, "We've been waiting." The alien ship rose slowly into the air and disappeared. But Caratel could still feel her eyes on it. The fleet did not know what was waiting for them. But Lena did. And deep inside, Caratel began to wonder. Maybe humans are not weak. Maybe they are something else. The wind carried the silent promise of war and survival. The second night of first contact had ended. But the game had just begun. The third night was different. The wind carried a strange silence. It was the kind of silence that comes before a storm. Caratel stood inside its black invisible ship, staring down at the city. The memory of the woman, Lena, played again and again in its mind. Her calm eyes, her smile, her words, "I see you." On every world Caratel had visited before, people ran from fear. But Lena didn't run. She walked toward it. Caratel needed answers. Why were these humans so different? It stepped out of the ship and returned to the ground. The streets were quiet, only the sound of distant wind and broken glass. The city lights flickered weakly like tired stars. Caratel moved through the shadows. Suddenly a soft voice came from behind. "You don't have to hide." Caratel turned fast. Lena was standing a few meters away, wearing a long coat. She wasn't afraid. She wasn't surprised. She stepped closer slowly, like she had been waiting for this moment. "I know you're not human," Lena said softly. "And I know you've been watching." Caratel didn't move. No human had ever spoken to it like this. She raised her hands, showing they were empty. "I'm not here to fight," she said. "Come with me." Caratel could have run. It could have gone back to its ship. But something in her voice made it stop. It followed her. Lena led the alien through a broken street, then down an old staircase hidden behind a wall. The air grew colder. There was a heavy metal door at the bottom. She placed her hand on a scanner. The door opened with a soft hiss. Inside was a secret underground lab. Screens, maps, strange devices filled the room. A few humans worked silently in the corner. They looked tired but focused. "Welcome to the Echo facility," Lena said. "We've been expecting you." Caratel's silver eyes widened. "Expecting?" Lena walked to a large table covered with maps and star charts. On the wall, glowing screens showed signals, alien signals. Caratel recognized its own fleet's transmissions. "We detected your ships weeks ago," Lena continued. "We didn't tell the world. We prepared instead." She turned to face Caratel. "You thought you were watching us, but we were watching you too." For the first time in many years, Caratel felt small. Its people had always seen humans as weak, emotional creatures. But here, hidden underground, humans were quietly preparing for war. Lena touched a screen. Videos played, clips of humans from different countries helping each other, building shelters, training, sharing technology. They were not waiting to be saved. They were getting ready to fight back. "We know what's coming," Lena said. "And we don't plan to run." Caratel's mind raced. This was not the weak species its leaders had told it about. This was something else entirely. "Why?" Caratel asked quietly. "Why do you resist?" Lena looked straight at the alien. "Because that's what we do," she said. "We fall, we bleed, we break, but we never stop." Her voice was calm, but behind it was something powerful, something unshakable. She walked to a small shelf and picked up an old, dirty photograph. It showed people rebuilding a city after a war. "We've lost everything before," she whispered. "But every time, we rise again." Caratel stared at the picture. It saw pain, fire, and tears. But more than that, it saw strength. The alien's heart was beating fast. For the first time, it didn't feel like a hunter or an invader. It felt like a student standing before something greater. "You are not what we thought," Caratel whispered. Lena stepped closer. "You see weakness," she said. "But weakness isn't the same as defeat. We survive. That's who we are." Above ground, the night sky flashed with a silent light. The alien fleet was moving closer. Caratel could feel their signal growing stronger. Lena turned her head, as if she could feel it too. "They're coming," she said. Caratel's communicator buzzed sharply inside its mind. A cold voice spoke in its language. "Scout, report. Are they ready for invasion?" Caratel stayed silent. Lena looked at the alien, her face serious but calm. "You have a choice," she said. "You can watch us fall, or watch what happens when we stand." The alien took a deep breath. For the first time, it wasn't sure which side it was on. The wind howled outside. The ground shook slightly as something massive entered Earth's orbit. Caratel looked at Lena. Lena looked at the stars. "The real fight," she said quietly, "is about to begin." The sky was no longer quiet. It burned with strange silver lights as the alien fleet arrived. One by one, the massive ships came out of the clouds like dark shadows. They covered the stars. They blocked the moonlight. The invasion had begun. Deep underground in the Echo facility, Red alarms started to flash. The floor shook softly. Dust fell from the ceiling. Lena stood in front of the screens, calm but serious. Caratel stood beside her, his silver eyes glowing faintly. Above them, his people, the invaders, were preparing their first strike. Their leader's cold voice echoed inside Caratel's head. "Scout, the time has come. Send the final confirmation. Begin the attack." For a long moment, Caratel said nothing. His heart felt heavy. For years, he believed humans were weak. Now he wasn't sure. He turned to look at Lena. She wasn't wearing armor. She had no weapon in her hand. But her eyes burned brighter than any fire he had ever seen. She spoke softly. "You still have a choice." Caratel looked at the screens. Images flashed. Humans gathering in the streets, not to hide but to stand together. Soldiers, farmers, doctors, children holding their parents' hands. Different faces, different colors. One people. "Why don't they run?" Caratel whispered. "Because this is home," Lena answered. "We don't run from it. We protect it." Above the city, the alien fleet moved into position. Caratel could feel their power. Their weapons were enough to destroy everything. But he also felt something else, the heartbeat of millions of humans who refused to kneel. The fleet commander spoke again. "Scout, send the code." Caratel's finger hovered over the small device on his wrist. One touch would call down the first wave of fire. But his hand shook. He remembered the little girl waving at him. He remembered the humans sharing food in the dark. He remembered Lena's words, "We fall, we bleed, we break. But we never stop." Something deep inside him changed. Caratel turned off the communicator. Lena watched him silently. She understood. He whispered, "They will come anyway." "Then we'll show them who we are," Lena replied. Above ground, the alien ships opened their massive wings. The first attack wave began to charge, but something happened that Caratel never expected. All over the city, lights turned on. Old buildings, towers, hidden bunkers, everything came alive. Humans had been preparing for weeks, maybe months. Not with giant alien weapons, but with clever strategy. Every street had a plan. Every group had a role. They were not just surviving. They were fighting back. The first alien strike hit. But instead of panic, the humans moved fast. Firefighters helped soldiers. Doctors rushed to the injured. Engineers rerouted power. People shouted orders, but no one begged for help. Caratel saw unity like he had never seen before. On his planet, war was about power. Here, war was about standing together. Lena ran to a control panel and opened a secret communication channel. Her voice was strong, clear. "This is not the day we fall. This is the day we rise." Her words echoed through every radio in the city. Even children heard them. Even the scared ones stood up. The alien fleet commander roared in Caratel's head, "Scout! What is happening down there?" Caratel looked at Lena. Then he answered in his language, "You are making a mistake." "What?" The commander growled. "You think they are weak," Caratel said. "But you are wrong. They are dangerous." There was silence for a moment. Then the commander laughed coldly. "They are nothing compared to us." Outside, the alien fleet began to fire again. But this time humans responded, not with fear but with strength. Missiles launched from hidden silos. Electronic jammers disrupted the alien signals. And everywhere humans worked as one. Caratel felt pride, not for his fleet. For them, he turned to Lena. "I can help you," he said. "I know their tactics," she nodded. "Then fight with us." Caratel pressed a code on his device. Half the alien signals went dark. The enemy fleet lost part of its control. The commander screamed in his mind, "Traitor!" But Caratel didn't care anymore. He wasn't watching humans from the shadows now. He was standing with them. Above the city, bright light flashed as the battle grew. But something was clear. The humans were not falling. They were pushing back. Lena's voice rose again on the radio. "This is who we are. We fight, we protect, we endure." Caratel stared at the horizon. He saw people rising from the ruins, standing shoulder to shoulder. They were outnumbered. They were outgunned. But they were unbroken. He whispered softly, "This is the real power." Far away, the alien mothership started to descend slowly. Its dark shadow spread across the city like a storm. The biggest fight was still ahead. Lena clenched her fists. Caratel raised his head. The war for Earth had truly begun. The night sky was on fire. The alien mothership had fully arrived. It was massive, like a black mountain floating in the air. Its shadow covered the city, turning night into something even darker. Every street, every building, every human stood beneath it. Caratel looked up, heart pounding. He had served this fleet his whole life, but tonight he was standing against it. Lena stood next to him, her hair flying in the wind, her face calm but fierce. Around them, the echo facility was filled with the sound of alarms, radio voices, and explosions. Above, the mothership's glowing lights prepared the final strike. This was the moment everything would end, or begin. The alien commander's voice roared inside Caratel's head. "You cannot win. Surrender, and maybe some will survive." Lena heard only silence, but she looked at Caratel's eyes and understood everything. "He's scared," she said. Caratel nodded slowly. For the first time, his commander sounded less like a god, and more like a man who had lost control. All over the city, humans stood their ground. Fires burned, smoke rose to the sky, but no one was backing down. Soldiers guarded the streets. Doctors carried the wounded. Children held hands in the basements, whispering songs they barely remembered. They were afraid, but they were together. Caratel closed his eyes and remembered his planet. There the weak were abandoned. Here the weak were protected. Here, no one stood alone. The mothership opened its main weapon bay. A beam of light started to grow. If it fired, everything would be destroyed. Lena grabbed the radio microphone. Her voice echoed through the city, strong and clear. "This is our home. This is where we make our stand. They think we are weak. Let's show them what it means to be human." A roar rose from the people. From streets, rooftops, tunnels, it felt like the entire earth was shouting back, not with fear, with defiance. Caratel's communicator buzzed. The commander shouted, "Stand down, Caratel! You belong to us!" "No," Caratel answered. "I belong to no one." He turned to Lena. "There's a way to stop the weapon," he said, "but I'll need to go inside the mothership." Lena didn't even blink. "Then let's do it." Within minutes, a small human fighter ship rose from the underground hangar. Caratel and Lena climbed aboard. The engine screamed as they launched straight toward the sky. The mothership's defenses fired beams of red light, but the small craft danced through the fire. Lena flew the ship, while Caratel hacked the alien systems from the co-pilot seat. He knew every weak point, because he had helped build this fleet. They reached the weapon core entrance. With one final blast, they broke through. The small ship crashed inside a giant metal corridor. The mothership interior was dark, cold, and full of moving shadows. Caratel and Lena ran through the long halls. Alarms blared. Alien soldiers appeared, but Lena's sharp aim and Caratel's knowledge cleared the path. Finally, they reached the control chamber. The commander was there, a tall, silver creature with burning red eyes. He stared at Caratel with hate. "You betrayed your own kind," he hissed. Caratel stood straight. "No, I found something stronger." The commander laughed coldly. "Humans! They are soft. They are nothing." Lena stepped forward. "Then why are you afraid?" The commander raised his hand to fire, but Caratel moved faster. He struck the control panel, breaking the main lock. Lena fired a shot that knocked the commander back. The weapon core started to overload. Outside, humans saw the mothership's lights flicker. The massive beam stopped charging. For the first time, the enemy hesitated. The commander roared in rage and lunged at Caratel. They fought in the heart of the ship, steel against claws, alien against alien. Caratel's blood stained the floor, but he didn't stop. Behind him, Lena finished the override. "Done," she shouted. "Caratel, let's go." Caratel pushed the commander back one last time and slammed the final switch. The weapon core collapsed. A huge shockwave tore through the ship. Lena and Caratel ran to the fighter and escaped just as the mothership began to fall. Outside, the humans looked up as the giant ship burned in the sky. The earth shook, but it was not fear anymore. It was victory. The ship crashed into the ocean far from the city. The sky grew quiet again. Only the sound of the wind remained. Caratel stood beside Lena on a rooftop, looking at the sunrise. His hands were shaking, not from fear, but from something new. "I thought humans were weak," Caratel whispered. "But they are not the prey, they are the storm." Lena smiled tiredly. "Welcome to Earth. All around them people were cheering, hugging, crying. The war was not over, but they had won the first battle. And something inside Caratel knew the universe would remember this night. Far above in the deep black of space, other alien fleets listened to the silence. They had watched the humans and they had learned to fear them.